Hey guys and gals, Never here for Drinking Game and stuff you on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you in a Let's Play episode of Heroes Advent, Max's Path. So y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go back to the courtroom. Yes, it's mine. Lady Spring gave it to me as a gift. All in all, you would characterize what you did to Lady Spring as accidental, correct? Yes, I would never harm her. I see. Thank you, Cassian. Your Honor, I have no further questions and no other witnesses. Any objections from the prosecution? No, Your Honor. Very well. The witness is excused. Does the defense rest? Yes, Your Honor. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, I am now going to read to you the law that you must follow in deciding this case. To prove the crime charged against the defendant, the prosecution must prove these two things to you. First, that the defendant indirectly or directly caused the fall of the Guardian Crystal. And second, that the defendant duly or unduly harmed Lady Spring. If each of you believe that the prosecution had proved both of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you should find the defendant guilty. But if you believe the prosecution did not prove any one of these things beyond a reasonable doubt, then you must find the defendant not guilty. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean beyond all possible doubt. It means that you must consider all the evidence and that you are absolutely sure that the charge remains true. Are you ready with your final arguments, prosecution and defense? Yes, Your Honor. Proceed. Your Honor, and ladies and gentlemen of the public, the judge has told you that we must prove two things. That first, the defendant directly or indirectly caused the fall of the Guardian Crystal. Based on witness testimony, it is safe to conclude that Mr. Cassian, the defendant, did indeed enter the inner sanctum of Vittram Park on his own at 4:32 this afternoon. This satisfies the first point. Secondly, the defendant had duly or unduly harmed Lady Spring. Well, I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen of the public, that the defendant was found unconscious next to Lady Spring with a sword in his possession. Therefore, all we have left is to prove is that the defendant had disrupted Lady Spring's magic and brought harm to us all, which, based on all evidence and testimony we have so far, all pointed towards Mr. Cassian being the culprit. Now, let us suppose there is even a scintilla of discrepancy in what's otherwise a watertight case. That is, this Ashford person actually existed. Does that really change or absolve the fact that Mr. Cassian is related to the Guardian Crystal's collapse, furthering the destruction of our city? No, of course not. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, that right there is a blatant attempt of displacement of accountability from the defendant, and that shall not stand in this court of law. Therefore, according to the instruction Judge Alaric duly provided, these are the things we have to prove, and we have proven each and every point beyond a shadow of a doubt. And you, ladies and gentlemen of the public, must find the defendant, Mr. Cassian, guilty. The hawk promptly returned to his usual perch, leaving you quite shaken after that scathing conclusion. You felt the fox slightly tapping on your back as he fearlessly took the hawk's previous spot. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the public, the prosecution presented a strong case. I'll give them that. So, you know. But it is far from watertight. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cassian, my client, was extremely unlucky to have gotten himself into a situation like this. The evidence on site stacked unfairly against him, and the only person capable of clearing up all the doubts, Lady Spring, Her Excellency, is not available at this point in time. If Cassian truly was a cold and calculated killer, wouldn't he have planned an escape route, so as not to be caught by our first responders? And as you have seen from the witnesses, none of them claimed Cassian as someone capable of such heinous crime. I mean, to reiterate a point from my opening statement, does he, the fox gestured at your face and body again for emphasis, look like the type to assault someone senselessly? After all, he does not look, act, nor sound to be a mastermind or perpetrator here. Based on what his friends said, he was barely in training not that long ago. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, you have also heard from Sir Max that he was picked by Lady Spring herself to be the next hero. And there was one thing about what he said that really stood out to me. We may disagree or disapprove of her decision, but at the end of the day, it is still her decision to make. And I believe as children of this realm, it is still our duty to obey that. I understand, maybe Cassian is not the hero we wanted, but if Lady Spring wills it, then maybe he's the hero that we need. Now, as for the matter of Ashford, this phantom character that the prosecution painted him to be, really, does it not strike you all as odd, prosecutor, that a person the defendant alleges to have existed, whom several witnesses have attested to witnessing, just so happens to be the collective delusions of the people? Talk about a preconceived notion, that one. Therefore, in my humble analysis, the prosecution has failed to present any real evidence to disprove that Mr. Cassian was a scapegoat to someone else's conspiracy. This means that there is room for reasonable doubt, and thus you must find the defendant not guilty. The courtroom was rendered silent as the fox promptly retreated to his panel. Now he felt even more unsure about your fate. Members of the public, you have heard the closing arguments from both sides. You may begin your deliberation process. It was now time for the jury to discuss your fate. It took quite some time, and from what you could surmise, more of them seemed to sympathize with your situation than you realized. You couldn't quite make out exactly what was being said amidst the murmurs, but it felt to you that the jurors were equally divided. At some point, one of them seemed to suggest something that gained everyone else's agreement. You felt your stomach twisting into a knot, as one of them began writing into a parchment form. Will the people's foreperson please stand? Have members of the public reached a unanimous verdict? Yes, Your Honor. The clerk went over to the gallery and took the verdict form from the foreperson, handing it over to Alaric. I wonder if there's anything you can do to change this. The older tiger only shook his head after skimming through the form before giving it back to the clerk. The clerk promptly returned to his desk before reading the form out loud. The members of the public find the defendant... We all know how this goes down. Unless it's different for different routes. Guilty! Off with his head. No. Judge Alaric, you will now read the defendant's sentence. Though it pains me to put you in such a predicament, Cassian, despite the circumstantial evidence unable to hold you fully culpable for the destruction of the Guardian Crystal and in turn the city of Crystal Coast, the people have spoken. They demand the prophecy be fulfilled as penance for this grave offense against Lady Primavera and those under her protection. Therefore, by the power vested in me by the people, I hereby sentence Cassian to be exiled from this community, until which time the king has been defeated and the nether plague cold. I understand that this was not a decision made lightly, and one that will have adverse effects on your team as well. The older tiger's expression softened a bit, clearly drawing the line between his official verdict and a more sympathetic tone he had seen when you first arrived. But if you truly are the hero of prophecy, I trust that you shall exact vengeance against the evil king, as ordained by the previous judicator. You will depart at dawn tomorrow. I will give you what funding and supplies we can spare, but no more. It's the least I can do, against what would otherwise be a seemingly excessive verdict. I understand, Master Alaric. Any further remarks from our members of the public before we move on? Max raised his hand as he stood up to speak, the rest of the team standing with him. Speak, Maxwell. Master Alaric, I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn here, but Cassian is still in training, sir. Even our strongest elites have fallen against the king and his lackeys, and you're sending him in this state? What if the journey went awry? Who would be responsible for that, then? He will not go alone. You, Maxwell, and the rest of your team will accompany him. You think you catch a sigh of relief from Max, his posture relaxing just beneath the stern exterior. Thank you, Master Alaric. I hope this doesn't negate the deal we made, Uncle. Do not worry, Alexander. Your research materials will be kept at Aegis in your absence. Then those are all of my affairs in order. With things as they are now, the honeysuckle isn't going to see many customers for a long time anyway, so I guess I'll go with them. Like you know, it is, in fact, water time. Alrighty. Wait, but what about the Sky Garden? Who's going to take care of it now? The scouts and researchers have set the garden's automated systems to continue running, though there will not be anyone to oversee their safety. We won't waste the manpower to keep it guarded. Can't just abandon them. They need to be taken care of, too. They're just living like anyone else. You notice that some of the jurors rolled their eyes at Ray's outburst. Hey, don't give me that look. I worry for my special babies. With everyone having spoken their piece, your team returned to their seats. Anyone else? To your surprise, Toby quickly joined rank with your team. Father, I understand the gravity of the situation, but next sunrise? That's barely any time to prepare for a field assignment, let alone a one-way trip. You could at least give them a few more days. Heck, make it a week so they can recover and prepare. This is the people's decision, Tobias. It is not I who you must convince. I advise you to lower your voice. If you keep speaking like that, you'll be forced to join them in exile. You know what? I will. I can't just sit around and watch my friends march down to a suicide mission. Very well. Where does that leave me? You'll be escorted to your cell for tonight. All of your belongings will be returned before your departure. Any further questions or remarks from members of the public? Jurors? None, Your Honor. Very well. Members of the prosecution, defense, as well as the public, I'd like to thank you for all your service in participating in this trial. With that, court is now dismissed. You were forced to stay at the defense table with the bailiff until the room was vacated, before he eventually escorted you out of the room. Max and the others tried to get a word in as you passed by, but the eagle wouldn't allow it. You could only cast him a longing look before getting escorted back to the cell in the basement again. With the trial having gone on long into the night, there wasn't much left for you to do but sleep. You lay on the wooden bed frame covered in a straw mattress. It's relatively clean, but still such a far cry from the comfort of the dorm bed, or the one back at Alyssa's cabin. The thought of Alyssa, now sleeping in some sterile hospital bed, wrenches your insides. But it also made it easier to close your eyes, taking comfort in the knowledge that she's still alive. Surprised that not all of them thought I was guilty. Maybe their hands were forced in the end. Even so, things still ended up this way. If only I had been stronger or smarter, would I have been able to see through Ash's trickery? If I had a stronger grasp of my null powers, would that have made a difference? No use dwelling on that now. This time tomorrow I'll be out into the world. Better get some rest. You tossed and turned, trying to find a semi-tolerable position. Eventually you managed to drift off to sleep, fading into that darkness again. Alright, and I'm actually going to pause it right there, y'all. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon or YouTube memberships if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!